Books make you hope. Books make you dream. Books make you laugh. Books make you scream. This is the Books That Make You show. Discussing books with authors and experts, unraveling the inner pages of all the books that help make us who we are. Hosted by Desiree Duffy.
Hi, my name is Desiree Duffy, and this is the Books That Make You show. And today we're talking about books that make you examine the 1970s, when women were beautiful and intelligent, but thought that they had to be perfect in order to succeed. What was it like for young women in the early 1970s to experience new opportunities while confronting some of these old prejudices? And why do school reunions force many of us to come to grips with our past, as well as the state of our lives today? Oh, provocative topics. Our author today explores that in her novel. It's called Death by Chaos. Renaii West is our guest today, and her page turner is a mystery that explores not just secrets and cover-ups and a murder and all that fun stuff, but it also digs into the relationships that women have. Now, she is also a playwright and a dramatic arts instructor, educator, and she also was a professional belly dancer. We'll find out more about that in a little bit. She has wrote and produced a short film called Eli's Run that was accepted in the Oceanside Film Festival. Renais, hi, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited.
Oh, I'm excited to have you. Yeah. I love books that have a strong theme, that it's also a page turner. It's a mystery. It's a thriller. It's something that's going to keep you on the edge. But then there's something provocative behind it that really makes you think. So tell us a bit about that. Tell us about, this idea in the 1970s. It was different. The attitudes that women had and were kind of imposed on them was different. Do you want to flesh that out for us a little bit?
Yes. And I can speak from personal experience, not that I like to admit that all the time, but the 1970s it was a very exciting time to be a young woman, because we were the beginning of what's known as the second wave of feminism, which was led by such icons as Betty Friedan, Gloria Steinem, and a few others. And we were made aware that there were new opportunities for us, new ideas for us, that we could think outside the box, that we didn't have to follow this path that our mothers had, that we could break boundaries. But what was also hard is that we had all been raised by what I call the June Cleavers moms, the Leave It to Beaver moms. And so we still had all of that inside our head. And so we were constantly debating, is this the right way? Is that the wrong way? And things like the sexual revolution and the summers of love and access to the pill was also giving us new freedom to explore our own sexuality. But at the same time, we had been raised with, this is what good girls do. This is what bad girls do. And so I think for a lot of us, there was this constant internal conflict, but it was exciting times because we knew we were creating new boundaries. We were opening the floodgates not for ourselves, but for future generations. Sometimes I look at my daughter and say, you're welcome.
And you should. I mean, when you look at a book like The Feminine Mystique, think of what our world would have been like if that book had not come out. Because that was one of those watershed moments where we realized, hey, like you said, we don't have to be June Cleaver or Donna Reed. We can be more like Mary Tyler Moore, running out into the world.
I forgot about her. She came out around the same time. That's right. Yes.
Yeah. And you saw that in pop culture and in television and books and writing. It was like the shift in what a woman or who a woman was supposed to be and what she could be. And I love the fact that you explore that in your book, Death by Chaos. So why don't you tell us the setup for the book without, no spoilers or anything? Just give us the premise of it.
Well, it is a little bit inspired by my own college experience. I've got to make it clear, there was not a death when I went to college, okay? That I added. But I love the idea that you have people coming from different backgrounds, different walks of life, different majors, different interests, and they're thrown together. And chances are you would never really interact with this person except you were in a English 101 or History 101 class together, or you lived in the same dorm and you met in the bathroom. I think men sometimes don't quite understand that women bond in like bathrooms. I mean, you become a real good friend with somebody that you're brushing your teeth with. But anyway, these are 4 women who would probably never have crossed paths on a campus except they were randomly assigned as roommates their freshman year. And what happened is they all are very outstanding, ambitious women, but in different ways. And they go on to kind of they become like the goddess of their own realm on campus. Tasha is a theater arts major. She's a little over the top and narcissistic. And she becomes, you just know at audition, she's going to get the lead role. Elizabeth is a pre-law who eventually becomes president of the students' associated student body. But from the get-go, she's very ambitious, very intelligent, taking the pre-law classes, holding her own with men at that time. And so, but instead of being competitive, as I think people like to do with women beforehand, they used to love the cat fights. These women become good friends and very supportive, and they find they become each other's sanctuary. How stressful school can be and whatnot. They have like safety in their own little room together where they can let loose. And then everybody assumes everything's going so well for these ladies. They're going to go on and have a charmed life. They've had a charmed life their whole life. They're going to have it easy the rest of their lives. But their senior year, there's a death on campus, a suspicious death. And one of the ladies becomes a person of interest, and she goes missing. Another one knows a lot more, but for her own self-interest and for other reasons, she does not reveal that. And she goes through life not revealing this, even to the other roommates. Mm-hmm. And then we get to the point where it's getting close to their 20-year reunion. And the one with all the secrets just thinks, it's just time. It's time to settle all this, to get all the pieces of the puzzle. Let's just finally put it all out there. But she also realizes she doesn't have all the pieces. She has to find them. And she realizes that there are those in powerful position who do not want this case resolved. And so she has to be discreet and careful. And so it's just finding the pieces of the puzzles finally and getting it out there. But she's also narcissistic enough that she wants to protect her own image.
Yeah. So. I love too that you have some very creative characters, realistic characters. They're archetypes in a way, but then we can all identify with them. It kind of reminds me of Sex and the City.
Yes.
They all had a very different personality. You're like, why are these women even friends? But to listen to them talk, there's that commonality where women can just bond if you give them that situation, which is wonderful. Now, you talk about the women being goddesses in their own way. Tell me a little bit more what you mean by that.
Well, that was somewhat inspired a little bit by my own interest in Greek mythology. And as much as I love Greek mythology, I've always found that most of the time the goddesses are adversaries. So again, I thought, let's make them goddesses, but they're now friends and they're supportive of each other. It's an example of female empowerment, female friendship. And then it was goddesses because I do like Greek mythology. So it was fun for me to create. If Aphrodite came down in the 1970s, what would she be like? What would Hera be like? So that was a little bit of fun. But also, in order for these women to get themselves in the situations they do, and in order for them to be as memorable to their classmates, they had to be a little bit more outstanding than your average person. I realized that, I never achieved this kind of social status or this level of achievements these 4 women, have. They are amazing. But, in order for them to be so memorable and then for the story to go on, they had to be high achieving, very successful women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you have a lot, then you have a lot to lose.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
And that
Yeah.
means that there's a lot at stake. And that's what makes us,
Oh,
root
definitely.
for and want to see what happens with our characters.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think happens when people don't go on to live the life that they thought their destiny would be? That's another kind of theme running through. What do you have to say to that?
Well, sadly, I think a lot of women or a lot of people will let that be their defeat or their Achilles heel. They'll get themselves in a funk or a depression about it, which is sad because I really believe at any given time, there's multiple paths ahead of us. And you can get on a path and it's not destined to be forever. And you can enjoy it. Then at some point, maybe it's time to switch paths. It's sometimes time to make an adjustment. And I know it takes a lot of courage and it takes a lot of, I think, creativity. I think sometimes people know they're in a rut. They just don't know where to go. And the rut is somewhat of a comfort zone. There's no effort being in a rut. It takes an effort to make a change. And I think that's what's hard. So I always find it sad when somebody's dream. For example, when I taught school, I had like male students that thought they were going to go to the NFL. Very few do. That doesn't mean you somehow can't still incorporate football in the rest of your life or somehow become an announcer or a trainer if you want to go in that career. I mean, so sometimes I think if it doesn't work out, there are still options ahead of you. And I would encourage everybody to always view your other options and not to consider yourself a failure because this one situation didn't work out for you. Yeah.
And that's the thing too, is society, our parents, our family, our loved ones often set up these expectations and we don't meet it, then we feel like a failure. And I'm sure as an educator too, that's something that you probably do see a lot of.
Well, one line is so used so often is like, I tell them, if they work hard, there's nothing they can't do. I understand the message behind that, but we're all sometimes limited by reality or by our own reality, but that doesn't mean you can't be amazing in some way. And so, sometimes I don't think it's a good idea to make it sound like anything's possible, but there are a lot of things possible.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. Go for it. Shoot for the stars. But maybe if you don't quite, if you hit the moon, that's okay.
Yeah. The moon's a nice place.
It is. It is. I like it there. So these women, they have these secrets and these burdens that they're carrying with them for many, many years. Do you feel like we all hold on to things that we are simply too afraid to really express, to share? Do we all kind of have something inside of us that we don't want to get out?
I think so. I really think so. Now, I know over the years it's become more, I would say, fashionable to be honest, and I think that's great. But I think even the most open person may still have some secrets, some things they're embarrassed about, or some things they don't quite understand. And maybe they're not aware of how it's really holding them back. So, no, I think all of us, do have secrets, some of us more than others. And I don't necessarily think that's wrong. I think sometimes, maybe, something that if you became open about it, it would just hurt feelings. And so I feel like if like what I always say, if you know where the bodies are buried, you have an obligation to speak out. But sometimes if it's just like, yeah, I saw your boyfriend flirting with that girl over there, you might cause more problems. So yeah. So I think the idea of being honest and open, you have to think it through. What's the ramifications? Is it better to come out, so to speak? Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. Mm-hmm. Now, in addition to being an educator, you are also a playwright and you've taught students at a performing arts
Yes.
school. What are the challenges that you found in instilling the power of the arts to other people? Do you find that to be difficult, easy?
It can be. Many of my students love the arts already because they were part of a performing arts class. And so that, in a sense, that was easy for them. But as you know, every time the budget gets tight in education, and it seems like, well, is there ever a time that the budget isn't tight? I mean, it always seems to be tight. The first thing that everybody wants to cut are what they consider the non-essentials, the electives. And that includes not only just the arts, but things like wood shop, the let's see, what the music classes. Well, that's part of the arts, that kind of thing. And unfortunately, I think they all have some value. And the arts are, well, I will be the first to admit, the arts do not cure cancer. So I don't want to make it sound like that, but they do bring joy and beauty to our lives. They help educate. And the arts over the history have been able to reflect history. And I learn a lot, quite a bit by studying, when you take an art history class, you learn an awful lot about the historical aspects about these. When you read a novel, my gosh, you can learn an awful lot about an area, an area of the country you've never been to. So I do try to encourage, the love of the arts. And my attitude was when I was teaching these classes, like, okay, maybe you won't stay a dancer, maybe you won't stay an actress, but you have an appreciation. And hopefully you will continue to see live theater. And hopefully you will consider, going to art galleries. And so, and the thing is, art is a lot like beauty, it's in the eye of the beholder. I find, like, I consider myself, I'm a Monet person. I love that kind of style of art. I don't quite get Picasso and Jackson Pollock. Doesn't mean it's wrong. But so just because, maybe you don't like this particular style, there's probably a style out there you will like. Same with music. I mean, there's so many things there that can really bring a lot of joy to your life, a lot of relaxation, and can also, educate you about the world beyond your own sphere.
Exactly. And when we teach our children the arts, we're teaching them creativity and creative thinking. I think the scientist who's curing cancer, I want them to have creative thinking. Oh, yeah. I want them to draw these correlations that you might not obviously see if you're looking at something very tactically.
Definitely.
Yeah. It's a holistic approach. We are holistic people, and our education should be the same thing. Yeah. So tell us, you were a belly dancer too, or you do belly dance?
Yes, I was. I used to ski, and one time I was in Canada, Whistler Mountain, which is beautiful. Mm-hmm. But I was on top of the mountain. It was freezing. My knees were killing me. And I just thought, I'm not happy at this moment. I'm basically a spring skier, what it all boils down to. And, it was snowing and everything. And I was thinking, I need new activities in my life. I need something that's not weather related. I want to do something that can be done inside. And I thought, what is it that I want to do? And I can visualize this moment, standing there holding my poles, looking at this beautiful scenery, thinking, I've always wanted to belly dance and to do the tango. And when I got back home, I signed up for classes immediately. Oh. And I was just going to do it for fun and exercise. But what happens is I just met, it's like going back to college. I just met some incredible women in my belly dance class. We would go out afterwards. And they were different. Some were older, some were younger than me. They came from different backgrounds, had different kind of careers and everything. Anyway, one of my good friends is an engineer. I learned more about engineering over the years than I ever have, because she would just have to rant and rave about her job, And what happened is teachers will have student showcases, or some of our teachers had an agreement with restaurants where you could perform during the weekends. And so we started to do it, and we would try to sign up as a group together, even though sometimes we were dancing solos, but we were there for each other. And then if we weren't performing, we would go just to, our friend, and to get the tipping going, okay, come on, everybody, break out the dollars. And then, we did Ren fairs, we did street fairs. We even did school fairs. And it was, I did this for 10 years. It was just a lot of fun. Now, the one thing I have to warn you about, I thought, okay, I'm going to get a less expensive hobby than skiing. No, you get so addicted to those costumes. Oh my God. You got to have every color veil. You need all these different belts and stuff. Yeah, we would spend fortunes on our costumes, but that was fun.
I was going to say that's what makes it fun. And I have to have all these scarves. I must have them.
It was, it's, you know what? And even if you don't want to perform, it's an ancient art form. And again, so the movements it's like yoga. I mean, they knew what they were doing back then. And in fact, there's a strong correlation between people who do belly dance and yoga, I found.
Okay.
And it's an ancient art form. And so the movements, a lot of times, it was for women's health. It was to strengthen the abs for childbirth. And so it is very healthy.
Oh, I can imagine. Fun. Yeah, a great workout for the abs, right?
Yes. And even the hips, you shake the hips and you do a lot of movements, and then there's a lot of grace. You really work on your elegance. So anyway, definitely I recommend it.
Now, what is it that you found either challenging or, on the same hand, and it can be the same thing, rewarding about writing this book?
It's that balancing act. I wanted these characters to be interesting and amazing, but I didn't want to go over the top, make them too perfect, if that made sense. I wanted witty kind of conversation, but I wanted it to be real. I wanted people to think, oh yeah, I can see 4 girls, hanging out in a dorm room talking like this. And so that was a little bit of a challenge. And it was also, I can be nitpicky. I have been told that I see more details in things than most people. And I don't like it when, wait, how did that detective find that? Where did that clue come from? I mean, I sort of wanted to make sure everything made sense. Even if it was something you wouldn't have done, I wanted to know how somebody found this clue, that it just didn't fly in their face. And so, that was something I went over and over again to make sure everything added up. So that, that was definitely a challenge.
Yeah.
And then it sort of, come up with a satisfying ending. Again, that, made sense.
Yeah. And your book, we can't say too much. I hate that. Yeah. But it does have a deliciously twisted ending, doesn't it?
I love that. I love things like that. So yes. Yeah.
Can you tell us, what are you working on next? Is there a book too? Is there another book?
There will be. I'm not working on Death by Chaos 2 yet. I'm the type that I figure a lot out in my head. Sometimes I go on drives, and I do pay attention. People, don't worry. I do pay attention when I'm driving, but I'll go on drives. There's something soothing about that gets the brain going. And I'm trying to figure out, well, there was a little bit of an ending in my first book, and I have to make sure I honor that and do right by that. And so I'm still figuring things out because I want it all to make sense. But I am working on a new series. This book I'm planning it, being a series. So I'm starting off that way. It will be people more in their 30s, but again, it's the main character. She is a belly dancer.
Mm-hmm.
And she's doing something I never did, but if I had started in belly dance, I would have done it. She also does fire. Have you ever seen a belly dancer that does the fire hoops and the fire batons and all that?
Oh,
She does that.
cool.
And she does a lot at Ren Fair. And what she will become is an event coordinator. And basically, she will be cozy mystery. She will be finding herself in, oh, wow, another murder. I got to figure this out because, nobody else is figuring out. But again, she has a strong support, and she just doesn't have two female friends who are based on my real friends, but they're exaggerated, of course. But she also has a couple of good male friends, and again, are based on guys that I've gotten to know through Renaissance fairs. And so as a group, they are going to, solve a mystery of one of their friends.
Oh, I love that. I love that. You made me a little bit nostalgic. It's been years, but I used to go to Ren fairs too. And I used to love them.
Those are fun. And again, they're fun. And again, I'm a corset addict. You don't wear corsets like for belly dance, but half the fun of going to Ren Fair is gives you an excuse to wear your corset.
Exactly. I love it. And
this character to be known for her corsets.
Ooh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay. Renaii West, can you tell people where they can find you, find your book, find you on social media? Give us all your details.
Okay. First of all, to buy the book, can I show the cover?
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
The cover. Okay. How come I'm not holding it up right? Anyway, I was never coordinated in that way.
It's not a mirror image. That's the thing. Like it is. It's so disconcerting. But if it was a mirror image, you couldn't read the cover.
True, yeah.
That's why we have it flipped this way. But I know it's kind of like why am I touching the wrong side of my head? And I get
disoriented so easily. So no. You can find my book on Amazon. Just type in Death by Chaos or Renaii West, and I'm thrilled to announce that you do Death by Chaos, and it pops up. That is exciting for me.
Nice.
And then I do have a website, www.renaiwest.com. I do spell Renai differently, Renaii. Think of it maybe being a shorter version of Renaissance, if that helps. And then West is like the direction. And then I'm also on Twitter, Renaii W, RENIIW. And I do have a Facebook, both Renaii West and Renaii West author. And I pretty much just post on author. And I do, I've done some blogs, and I've on my website, if you're interested, I had a friend draw illustration of the 5 main characters of the 4, what I call goddesses, and that handsome stranger that shows up on a motorcycle. I mean, who doesn't want a handsome stranger that shows up on a motorcycle in your life?
Exactly.
And I have to tell you, that handsome stranger on a motorcycle is based on a handsome stranger. I couldn't tell you his name or something. I went skiing once, and every time this guy zoomed by me, he flirted.
Oh,
and then he kind of flirted in the cafeteria with me, but nothing ever happened. Never saw him again. But I remember thinking, that guy's not classically handsome, but he's got something. He needs to be a character in a book. So there he is.
I love.
He has no idea.
No, he's out there right now minding his own business, not even knowing that he inspired you. That's excellent. Excellent. Yeah. Renaii West, thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Everybody, check out Death by Chaos by Renaii West. And thank you all for being here today on the Books That Make You show. To find out more about us, visit our website. It's booksthatmakeyou.com. We are on Facebook and on Instagram and, of course, on YouTube. For the people that are listening to this, you're like wondering, what are they talking about? We can't see anything. We're listening. Well, that's because we're on YouTube as well. So check out the show on YouTube. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel, as well as our email list as well, because we're always giving away lots of books and bookish goodies and talking to authors. And that way you always stay up to date on when the next Books That Make You show is out. Until next time, all of my bookish buddies, please enjoy all of the books that make you exactly who you are.
The executive producer for Books That Make You is Desiree Duffy. Produced and sound mastered by Phil Giangrande. Engineering by Dave Nabox. Social media and promotion by Bree Sweeter. For more, visit booksthatmakeyou.com.